Testing. 1, 2, 3.
Damn, girl. I know we've been going through it lately, but I think we can still work this out. But the way you acting, you seem like this is the end. Let me know what's going on.
What up, everybody? It's your girl, Sherry's Joy, and welcome to another episode of Bookmarked. I have read another book. This week's book is American Housewife by Anita Abriel. This is such a cutesy little book. It is by the author of Light After the War, and this author, I don't know much about. However, I do know that she does write books that are based off of history, so historical fictions, and that's exactly what this was, a nice little historical fiction book that takes place in New York in 1950s New York, and we meet a character. Her name is Maggie, and when we first meet Maggie, it is we're in the middle of World War II. She is a farm girl from Pennsylvania, rural Pennsylvania, and she moves to the city to make, something of herself. She is a TV commercial actress, and she it's so funny because one of her first gigs is for a commercial for washing machines. So they filmed her on top of a washing machine, but only like from her knees down. I am not quite sure what exactly that was supposed to sell, what that had to do with a washing machine, but that's what it was, so whatever. And she's got kind of like a really good, nice little cutesy personality. So she meets her first love of her life named Jake, and they kind of run into each other at like a bookstore. It's like a thrift bookstore, and they are talking about books, and she does him a favor, and he's like, oh, let me reciprocate the favor. So they go to Woolworths to have lunch at the dinner counter, and this is 1944 at this point, and they go to Woolworths to have lunch at the dinner counter. Cute. And they have a turkey sandwich, and they share a turkey sandwich. They split it in half because that's what each one of them could afford, and they're both trying to make it, and he's going into the army, and they fall head over heels in love with each other. So we have that part of the book that is their love story, and that's in 1944. Then we kind of flash forward, I guess you could say, to the present day, and Maggie is with Teddy, and Teddy ends up being her husband, and they get married, and they have to get married because Maggie has made a career of herself, and she is the hostess of a baking show, Maggie Lane's Baking Show. And what she does is she's on TV, and it's a baking show. I mean, we all know the Food Network and watch baking shows. If you haven't, check them out. But so she does baking shows, and it's this company that it's kind of like I got the vibe, it's like a Betty Crocker type company, but they didn't want to use Betty Crocker because of the branding. But everything is like boxed, so like boxed cakes. It's mostly desserts. It's all desserts actually, like cakes, muffins, brownies, stuff like that, pies and things. And she really blows up. And the reason why she has to get married is because the clause within the company is that, she's America's housewife. And in the 50s, being a housewife is like actually being a wife. So the clause is that she has to get married. So her and Teddy get married. I mean, they were already in love and they get married. But, meanwhile, what's going on? She's having these flashbacks about Jake, and it's kind of like, why? And then we learn, it's raining one day, and she's going across the street, and she almost gets hit by a car, and it kind of like flashes back to, not 44, but kind of like in between 44 and 50, where she actually almost got hit by a car again, and she meets Carl. And Carl is like, oh my goodness, I almost hit you. You can't walk, you poor thing. Let me take care of you. And he like picks her up and puts her in his car, and he like drives to his apartment and everything. And she's like unconscious. And she wakes up in his apartment in like this room, and she's like looking around like, where am I? And so Carl kidnapped her, or adult napped her, if you want to say that. He's like, I went to your apartment, and you can't live there. There's no heat, there's no food, the place is filthy dirty, the water doesn't work, the this and the that and all these excuses. So you're gonna stay here so that you can get well and get better. And she's like, no, I gotta get home. So he actually ends up, telling off her landlord, and it's like, you should be ashamed of yourself. How can you live with yourself and not take care of your tenants in these conditions? She will not be living here anymore. She's breaking the lease, and I dare you to challenge me on breaking the lease, because this place is a hot mess. And he takes care of her. He buys her clothes. He stocks her closet full of clothes and stuff like that. It's like weird. And it's clear that he has money. It's like a Upper East Side apartment that we learn, and I don't know much about New York, except for like what I know, but from what I know is the Upper East Side is hoity-toity, very expensive, where the money is. So he lives there, and he's like taking care of her, and we find out that he's a screenwriter or playwright. He writes plays. And he does really good for himself. He does very well. So we are flashing, we have that flashback. Plus, don't forget, we have Jake's flashback. So with Jake, he wants to marry her. He proposes to her. And she's like, no. But only because I want you to be able to concentrate when you go off to war. I don't want you to think about, I don't want you to worry about me as your wife at home. I'm only going to write you once a month. I want you to do the same, because I don't want you to expect my letters every week or every day and get caught up in reading letters and then get blown up or get shot down or something like that. So she's like, I will marry you when you return. And it's like, okay, well, now she's married to Teddy, so what happened? And who is this Carl guy? So, yeah, not Carl, Charles. So they, so the story is about, it's almost like a love triangle, right? So in the meantime, she does have this friend, her friend's named Dolly, who actually works at the studio, CBS Studios, and they become really close friends. And, Maggie is she reaches out to Dolly's, like, unloads her feelings and her thoughts, and Dolly's going through her own stuff as well. She's struggling with being a Jewish American, and she doesn't want her boyfriend to know that she's Jewish. So because she's really in love, but she thinks that his family is not going to want him, her boyfriend, to marry into a Jewish family. And so it's about, that as well. And, it's the times, I guess, right? I mean, I'm not Jewish. I'm not saying that I am, but I do know what it is to be of a, minority. So, so it's about all kinds of struggles, right? The one thing I loved about this book, so I don't know why, but ever since I was a little kid, I've been like obsessed with the 50s and the 40s and the 30s, the 20s, all of that, mostly 50s, early 60s. And I think it's just like the aesthetic of it, the fashion, the music, the lingo, the way people carried themselves, the properness, all the pop culture aspect of it. I know that there's bad every year. There's bad right now, but as far as like the fun stuff, that is what I have been obsessed with. And I don't know, I've just been so interested in it. So I absolutely love the pop culture or the aesthetic or whatever of this book. The cover is, pastel, bright and cheery. I got that vibe from the whole entire book, bright and cheery, no darkness at all. Loved it. The thing that I hated or did not like about this book was the Stockholm Syndrome with Charles. I apologize. Carl, Charles, it's all the same to me. With that, you know, he kidnaps her, or he just, I don't know, he takes her, tries to nurse her, and he forces like this relationship on her, just because he has money. And he, you know, they end up falling in love, and he proposes, and they're gonna get married and all this other stuff. And then he holds it over her head later. Then we have Teddy, right? So then we have so it's not alcoholism. I'm not really sure what it's when you're addicted to cigarettes, but it's the 50s, 60s, right? Everybody smoked, chain smoked, but so it's Teddy. He also was in World War II, and he was in Germany in this town that got done really, really horribly. And he's seen some stuff. So I think it's more like PTSD. You know, he relaxes with smoking, but he also becomes obsessed with Maggie's money. Like, oh, you have money. So, you know, they go out and buy like a Cadillac. Well, he buys a Cadillac. He buys like Coco Chanel perfume and hangs out, you know, with Coco Chanel type places. The finest of the finest restaurants, clothes, opening all these like charge cards, what they called it back then, and diners club, and you know, running with his entourage and you know, paying for everything. So he's like running up these bills. So we have that aspect of it, and he's also dealing with being a non-successful man in the 50s who's married, you know, so he's like feeling some sort of way about that. And Maggie is all about like, she's trying to save this money so that they can purchase this apartment because she wants to live on Fifth Avenue and enjoy the city. She doesn't want to go back to the country living and the rural living. And it's just like all of that just wrapped into one. It is such a interesting read. It is a short read. It is very interesting. I would definitely read another book from this from this author. It was very enjoyable. It was a definite page turner. I didn't like the fact that it was written in third person. I'm not really keen with that, but you don't really notice it in this book because of everything that's going on and how everything else is written, and it's such a page turner. I didn't notice it. So I do appreciate the writing. It is very descriptive. I was inside of the pages, involved, loved it. I don't have a particular favorite character. I guess if I had to choose, it would definitely be Maggie, because she's the main character and she is a boss. Like she, you know, she's very smart, and it was a coming of age at first, and when she became of age, like she was fully developed in her brain and she knew what was going on, she knew what she wanted, and she went out and got it. So I appreciate that. I also loved the fact that there were a lot of actor references, right? So she had guest stars on her show like Frank Sinatra, and there were some things that were said, and I'm like, I wonder if that's true, but I don't know, you know. And I didn't look it up because it's fine, but it was like Frank Sinatra, Kirk Douglas, Audrey Hepburn, Audrey Hepburn, you know, just famousness that was referenced through the whole book. And then like Lucky Strike cigarettes. I only know about Lucky Strike cigarettes because of that TV show that I can't think of the name of, but I enjoyed this book. So I appreciate you, and I thank you so much for hanging out with me and for reviewing or, you know, watching my reviews, and for all of your support and your likes and subscribes and all of that nature. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to this channel. I am Sherry's Joy. You can find me on you can find me on Instagram at bookmarkedsj. I am also on Blue Sky at Sherry's Joy. You can find the DigiKast, which I'm part of, here, obviously, and you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram, Spotify. We have a blog post, TheDigiKast.substack.com. I always struggle with that. I'm gonna get it right one day. And if you know anyone who could benefit from this video, this review, or any of them that I do, please forward this and pass it on, share the love. And if you haven't looked at any of my other reviews, please take a look and let me know what you think. And if you have a book that you think that I would enjoy or that you would like to hear me discuss, or any recommendations at all, I'll take them. Please, by all means, send them to me. Thank you so much again. And I have a guest visitor, and this is Gigantor. And Gigantor reminded me that I forgot to rate the book. I rate the book a 5. It was such a beautiful book, and Gigi likes it as well. He's ready to get down. Love the world.
This is Classic Material Volume 5, and you are now listening to the BlocSonic exclusive bonus track.
Guess I lost myself another one, another friend just wanting more. I ain't even that dude though. What she see in me, I don't know. I just be trying to do me, trying to live my life stress free. But here comes all the questioning, seems like she's trying to test me. I told her ass don't get too attached. I ain't trying to do this.